Week 4 of the NFL is in the books, so let's try to draw some conclusions. Let's see what teams are ascending, what teams are not, what teams are falling off the rails. I have a feeling I'm going to be talking about my Dolphins, baby, but it's football, bro. You can catch this live on the YouTube, or you could check out its audio form on any podcasting platform. Let's go ahead and let's dive on in. Let's start real quick with the Thursday night game. Honestly, not much to say here. Wasn't the funnest game in the world to watch. As you had the stinking Giants scoring field goals is what it is. Couldn't really move the ball outside of tossing it underneath to Wandale and to Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors continues to look wonderful. You had Daniel Jones missing a couple of deep shots. And the run game, I don't know, man. Cowboys, it came to play. They were like, hey, we're not gonna lose on the ground. To be fair, offensive line for the Giants, not like they're spectacular. And the Giants couldn't run the football. It was kind of sad. It was legitimately kind of sad. If you're the Cowboys, good win. You win this game 20-15. I say good win. It's a good thing that you won. However, you end up losing potential. Well, DeMarcus Lawrence, they said he's going to be out for a few weeks. Micah Parsons, I believe, has a high ankle sprain. I don't know what the grade is on that, but it sounds like he's going to try to give it a go. But anytime you have a high ankle sprain, man, your explosion's going to fall off a cliff. Just not going to get off the line of scrimmage as fast as you once did. So kind of rough losses. They already entered the game with missing most of their cornerback room because you got Deron Bland. He's still banged up. I think he comes off IR this week. I'm not positive. And then I think Kalen Carson was out this game. So they had Amani Oyewari, former Penn State corner. That was a blast from the past for me, man. But it's really all I want to talk about when it comes to this game. Let's move to the Sunday slate. As we got the New Orleans Saints. Who dat gonna lose to them Falcons? Well, the Saints are. So Falcons win 26-24 on a 58-yard Young Ho Koo field goal. Theme of the week was muffed punts. I don't know if the NFL records how many muffed punts happen in a week. I know they record muffs, but do they have a record of this is the most muffed punts or muffed returns we've had in any given week? Because dare I say, this week felt like a lot. It felt like a lot. You had one in this game from Rashid Shaheed trying to over the shoulder catch this sucker. Leads to a touchdown. And both teams were hurt on the offensive line, and you could tell it was very noticeable. The backups that played in this game, we could start with the Saints on the offensive line. I believe you had Landon Young. He was playing right guard. Had a terrible game. You had Shane Lemieux. Terrible game. I loved Shane Lemieux in college too. That hurts right freaking here. And then for Atlanta, you had Ryan Newzil, rough game. Storm Norton. Honestly, at least as a run blocker, he was pretty good. But rough game. So the backups along the offensive lines didn't really help. But at the end of the day, Falcons did enough to get it done. Or should I say Paulson Adebo did enough to get it done for the Falcons. This guy had the most, either I'm playing really good or I'm really costing my team type of game. This dude had 3 pass breakups. I believe he had an interception in there as well. Let's see. 3 pass breakups, an interception, He allowed 7 receptions for 120 yards, and he was flagged 3 times, with the final one being the most costly one because it's the one that put the Falcons in field goal position for the game winner. So, woof, man. Just kind of rough, man. Just kind of rough. Honestly, the offenses for both these teams, I thought played fairly well. Like, Derek Carr was pretty good, picking up where he left off a couple of weeks ago. Kirk Cousins looking better. He's slinging it around. Is what it is. Bijan couldn't get it going, but at least Tyler Algier was there. And then, I mean, you could talk about the pass catchers for the Saints. Olave was good. Shaheed was hit. It was good as well. He had 8 receptions, 83 yards. So, yeah, I mean, I think these teams were fairly evenly matched. Though I would say the Saints defense played better aside from Paulson Adebo. Again, at any given time, this guy was either super good or really bad, costing his team. I think the Saints put up more yards, had more first downs. I think they were the more efficient team, and they end up on the losing end of this. So it was kind of a tough pill to swallow. The Bears, they beat the Rams 24-18, and Caleb Williams, he looked fine in this game. He had a solid game, I thought. He ended up throwing for 17 for 23, had a touchdown, only threw for 157 yards because downfield just doesn't exist right now for Caleb Williams. And I think part of that has to do with not necessarily well, you could begin with the play of the offensive line, but let's talk about the trust, the faith in the offensive line, because it's not there. It's not there. All 3 deep shots Caleb took, missed it. He gets antsy. But he did a better job, I think, this week working within structure. I really, really do think he did a better job of that. Honestly, I think the winner of the day was the Bears defense. They did a great job at just making life difficult for Matthew Stafford and the Rams. The Rams offensive line, if you didn't know, if you've been living under a rock, it's beat to hell. Currently, they got Alaric Jackson back. Alaric Jackson played his best game since returning, which great. But like Bo Limmer was in there, he played all right. But Logan Bruss, former, what was he, a 3rd-round pick by the Rams, and in that given draft, I think he was their first actual pick in the draft. He had a rough go with things, but it came down to the Rams had a shot. They had a chance. And what happened? Well, the offensive line got blown up, and I think it was Darrell Taylor that came in and just delivered a monster blow to Matthew Stafford. Stafford had to get it out quick, and Jaquan Brisker ends up making the interception. Like, legit, man. This Bears defense is scary. And we could talk about the success in the run game. This is the first game where the run game actually helped complement this Bears offense. And a lot of that had to do with, well, the Rams linebackers suck. They're the worst linebacking core in the NFL. Constantly just washed out of the run game. They made DeAndre Swift look like a good sign-in, which, hey, maybe he ends up being a really good sign-in later on. But I'm just saying, initial reactions, didn't love the money paid. I just didn't. But that's really all there is to this game. The Bears get to 2-2. Caleb, he's learning, he's developing along the way. And then, of course, Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams are trying to keep this boat afloat until the offensive line returns healthy, until Puka and Cooper return back healthy. Jordan Whittington, he's playing good football. Whittingham? Can't recall now. Former Texas slot receiver who's playing a lot more outside than I expected. Whittington. Yeah. Playing good football, man. He had 6 receptions for 62 yards, so solid. Packers, they go down to the Vikings 31-29 in a Georgia v. Alabama-esque type game where the Packers came roaring back. They never took the lead in this game. But they came roaring back, and it just wasn't enough by the end of things. It was a very fun game in the second half. Didn't start that way. Yeah, the Jordan Addison end around for like a 7-yard touchdown. He had Jordan Addison scoring deep on a pass, so he had 2 touchdowns this game. So happy that he's back. And honestly, Sam Darnold didn't have to play well this game, and it's not like he did play particularly well. I think he played well enough. He came up, like turned up in big moments, and because I mean there were a lot of passes he got away with. I think was it the opening drive? He had a toss to the end zone before the end around, which was just a dropped interception. So I'm not gonna pretend like Sam Darnold is God. I'm not. He ends up throwing for 3 touchdowns and interception, but he had 3 turnover-worthy plays. He had a bad fumble in there as well, I think. But the Vikings are just playing so well all over the place. Like, again, we could continue to rave about this defense. This defense had 7 pass breakups, 3 interceptions. They did end up allowing 4 touchdowns, but I mean, the Packers were playing from behind, so yeah, Jordan Love had to sling it. By the way, I thought Jordan Love looked really good this game. He was rattled, but when they put the weight of the game on his shoulders, I thought he turned up well. And you had him. It was nice to see Jaden Reed become relevant again in this offense with Love back. Christian Watson does go down. What's new? But yeah, man, I thought Love played a good game. The offensive line, honestly, played a relatively good game despite how often blitzes were hitting home. And I mean, again, when you have 5 blocking and they're sending 6 to 7, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to stop everybody. But I thought the offensive line for the Packers did a relatively fine job. You also had the Vikings. Their offensive line played really good. That includes Ed Ingram, which is kind of a wild thing to say. Ed Ingram ended up only allowing 2 pressures. Had a decent win rate as well. Wasn't the best player on their offensive line, but I thought he played a good game. But yeah, the game was hella fun, man. Yeah, freaking, you had Love just slinging the ball deep, trying to get something going, and inevitably it came up short. You didn't have faith that they were going to be able to get the onside or the onside kick, but kind of it is what it is. I'm glad that they showed some pluckiness. That word's going to come into play a little bit later, but they showed some pluckiness. And I mean, what more can we say about the Packers? But Malik Willis is 2-0 to Jordan Love's 0-2. Just putting it out there. But the Vikings seem legit. They seem legit. Steelers, they end up going down to the Colts. Another game that really got interested in the fourth quarter, in the second half. Colts win 27-24. The big talking point is, oh no, Colts backfield, they hurt. Anthony Richardson, quit using your body, quit being a battering ram, and learn just to take what's given. Like, slide. Don't take unnecessary hits. That was some of the best stuff about like Russell Wilson was his ability to protect his body. So for goodness sake, just protect your body. You also had Jonathan Taylor. He ended up not playing late into the game after going off. He has a high ankle sprain. That's something to monitor. He's on my fantasy team, so I know I'm watching that quite a bit. I'm a little scared. I do want to give a shout out. Tanner Bortolini got the start in this game because Ryan Kelly was hurt and played good football. He played good football. Let's pull up Bortolini real quick. He ended up allowed one pressure, was flagged once, but played good in his rookie debut. So you love to see it, man. You love to see it. When it came to the Steelers, like, you just feel bad for them offensively. First off, Mason McCormick got his first start of the season, looked good. Zach Frazier continues to have a pretty solid rookie year. There were parts of this game where he had a few gaffes. I think one was like was like an early snap. Another one was where he just got pushed right into Justin Fields. But like outside of those two, like blaring, like, oh, okay, what the hell? He played relatively good, but you have Spencer Anderson playing on the other side, because unfortunately James Daniels goes down with, I think it was an Achilles injury in this game. He's gone for the year. That sucks. You already know Troy Fautanu. He's gone for the year because of a dislocated kneecap. So you got Dan Moore up in there, who actually played all right. Broderick Jones played a okay game. Like, the Colts were able to get pressure, and the run game just doesn't exist for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Justin Fields put this team on his back and played good football. Like, he stepped up in the moment. Like, he got to slinging and he played well. He had an adjusted completion percentage of 80%. If you're unfamiliar with that adjusted portion, it just takes out drops, throwaways, spikes, stuff like that. So you get the truest sense of how accurate was this cat on the throw-to-throw bases. He threw for over 300 yards, had a touchdown through the air. He also had 70 yards on the ground? 55 yards on the ground. 2 touchdowns. He was a big reason why they were able to come back in this game. Joe Flacco, the old gunslinger himself, played good, stepped in, gave the Colts some consistency on offense. He is still one of the best backups in all of the NFL. Good for Flacco, man. Love to see it. When it comes to the defense of the Rams, I still don't believe in it. I don't buy into it. If you're not Gus Bradley, he hates blitzing. He's allergic to blitzing, so he didn't blitz. But they were able to hit home with 4-man rushes because this Pittsburgh offensive line is hurt. It's banged up. So they were able to hit home with 4-man blitzes or 4-man rushes. And you had some guys step up in the secondary, like Samuel Womack, former 49er, former Toledo Rocket. Stepped up, 2 pass breakups. Love to see it. I'm quickly gonna go through this game. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't watch much of this game. I checked out the highlights and that's about it. I didn't want to watch this game. Broncos, they beat the Jets 10-9. It was a rainy game. We weren't gonna learn much of anything from it. It was a battle between defenses, and at the end of the day, the Broncos defense won. Broncos defense playing good football, though, by the way. You had Bo Nix just playing, hey, let's not throw this game away. I think I saw on Twitter people were joking around. He had -7 passing yards in the first half of this game. Kind of wild, but hey, got the go-ahead got the touchdown when they needed it to Cortland Sutton, excuse me. I think Cortland Sutton had 80% of the Broncos passing yards. Let me just go confirm that because Bo Nix threw for 60 yards. And Cortland Sutton he had 60 yards. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, because you had some negative gains in there. Tyler Beatty, excuse me. I know he got beat up. He got hurt in this game. Hopefully he's okay. I saw in the injury report that he's expected to hit IR, but things are better with him. We had Troy Franklin making his true debut. 2 receptions for -2 yards. So Cortland Sutton had basically 100% of the passing yards here. It's kind of wild. But he had the touchdown. That's what matters. Aaron Rodgers, he was hobbled in this game. He was limping around. They say it's a hamstring and he should be a-okay, but yeah, there's not much we can really take away from this game. Buccaneers, they beat the Eagles 33-16. Let Baker bake. This offense is cookie. It's delicious like a cookie, but it's cooking. I'm talking about let Baker bake, and I'm talking cookies. Of course I am. Bucky Irvin, man, he's really got it. He's now taken 50% of the workload in the backfield there, and he's looked really impressive with that. I say really impressive. Let's reel back. He's looked good. He's looked better than Rachaad White has, and you love to see it. But Baker is baking, man. This offense got out to a big lead. The Eagles try coming back. Mind you, the Eagles were down significant players. I don't know, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Lane Johnson, like Fred Johnson. I gave him all that praise last week. And then he allows like 11 pressures this week. And it's like, he's a backup for a reason. What can I say? But yeah, no, he had a rough game. Yaya Diaby was licking his chops. Matter of fact, Levante David, who got really active as a blitzer in this game. Ooh, I think he had the strip sack in this game as well. Levante David, man. Ageless. When is Father Time coming after Levante? I hope never, because I love Levante. He's one of my favorite linebackers in the league. But the Eagles try to inch their way back into this game. A lot of that came on the back of Saquon Barkley. But the Buccaneers, when they needed to, they were able to put their foot back to the throat of the Eagles and secure this game. This is the Bucs team we expected, not whatever the hell last week was against the Broncos, but the Bucs look good. Eagles, if let's talk scare. Okay, I get it. The offense missing kind of key components, but when it comes to the defense, what the hell? What's this pass rush? I'll tell you what it is. It doesn't exist. If you're an edge player for the Eagles, you aren't getting pressure. You're just not. Like Sweat, he did an all right job, but outside of that, like who? Huff has come out and looked like one of the worst sign-ins of the offseason. He has done nothing. This team cannot get consistent pressure. They just can't. But Bucs defense looks good. It should have looked good. The Eagles were down they were down their right tackle, their star right tackle. They were down their two top targets. So yeah, the Bucs kind of should have looked good in this game, and they did. Cincinnati Bengals, they beat the Carolina Panthers 34-24, and man, Andy Dalton makes this offense exciting. Unfortunately, the defense is kind of bad. It's not a good defense for the poor Carolina Panthers. No one's really getting pressure for the Carolina Panthers. You got J.C. Horn, not exactly playing great football. He wasn't like terrible this game. He was all right. But you had the Jamar Chase long touchdown. It was ugly. You had a ton of missed tackles. They had 11 missed tackles as a team in this game. They probably had 3 or 4 of them on that one play from Jamar Chase. Yeah, and I think it was Xavier Woods just missing the hit stick, bouncing off of Jamar. Jamar breaks another tackle and is just able to accelerate and get to the end zone. The offense is playing really good for the Bengals. Unfortunately, I do want to mention Panthers, they just had another season-ending injury with Shaq Thompson. It sounds like he's gone for the year, so that sucks. But, I mean, the Panthers, they're going to have to win shootouts. Andy Dalton at least puts them in a position to do that. Xavier Leggett got his first touchdown as a professional football player. Congratulations to him. Chubba Hubba Bubba Hubbard also played a really good game. But, I mean, also the Bengals' defense is kind of pants as well. It's the defensive line. The defensive line is pants. Secondary is playing good football. Unfortunately, when you're asked to, because that's what Coach Lou wants to put these corners on island. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the pass rush that allows that to be successful. Because, golly, this secondary is asked to do so much while their pass rush does so little. In this game, 6 freaking pressures from the Bengals. What are we doing, y'all? Like, Trey Hendrickson was the only guy really consistently winning and hitting home. He had the pressure and the hit on Andy Dalton that forced the interception, but no one else. They desperately need some of these guys to get healthy, whether it's Sheldon Rankins, BJ Hill, Miles Murphy. They need some health because, like, who's the other edge rusher there for the Bengals? Sam Hubbard. Oh gosh, man, he is a rotation player at best. He's doing nothing for this squad. And I know he's like a local hero to Cincinnati, but golly. Oh, at least the Cincinnati offense is clicking. By the way, Gatorade. Lime cucumber, best Gatorade. Don't at me. It's not a hot take. It's the right take. You got the Texans beating the Jaguars 24-20. You have Stroud getting the go-ahead touchdown with 20 seconds left. I think it was 22 seconds left. Can I just comment on how well that final drive was orchestrated? For one, like, the offense just did a good job at taking what was given. And on the other, like, the flip side of that, when you talk about the coaching staff, just the time management, wonderful job by Bobby Slowick and D'Amico Ryans, knowing when and how, like, when and what to call, getting the players to execute, and then knowing when to use your timeouts and when not to use them. It was a wonderful, wonderful final drive for the Texans, who this offense was a bit of a slow burn. But once it got going, it got going. Ron Darby, unfortunately, got toasted in this game. I think he allowed like 120 yards, or at least it felt like it. Let's go confirm that. He allowed, oh my gosh, it was way worse. He allowed 11 receptions on 12 targets for 159 yards. Golly, Tyson Campbell, get healthy, bud. They need you out there. They need you. The pass rush was all right in this game for the Jags. But this team just can't win. Like, offensively, this team's a mess. This team's a mess. Press Taylor is running this offense in the ground. But you can't give him all the credit for that, because Trevor Lawrence is doing that too, man. Trevor Lawrence, he missed like two or three big plays in this game that should have been touchdowns. One of them, like, Brian Thomas is playing wonderful, should have had a touchdown in this game, or should have had a big, like, an extra like 60 yards. We're talking like Trevor Lawrence, man. He hasn't been the same players since the second half of that Miami Dolphins game in the season opener. Here, let's pull up Brian Thomas. So he should have had 2 touchdowns. He should have had like 140 yards. Should have been a huge game for Brian Thomas. And it ends up being a solid game. 86 yards and a tutty. The run game honestly felt like it was all right. You talk about the pass protection, they were actually pretty good. The run blocking was good. Like, Trevor Lawrence was the problem. What? Trevor Lawrence, get it together, dude. What the heck? You gave all that money to Trevor Lawrence, too. They're the only team without a win in the NFL, and they don't even feel like the worst team in the NFL. Strange times we live in. But the Texans, or as Grossi would say, the Strouds, they got it done. They will get healthier in the next couple of weeks with Tank Dell returning, coming off the rib injury. And you'll have Joe Mixon, who I think it's a hamstring injury. I can't remember off the top of my head. The Commanders, they dog walk the Cardinals 42-14. Jaden Daniels is him. The run game is phenomenal for the Commanders. Brian Robinson, give that man all of the flowers. And you have Jeremy McNichols, who's stepping up, being the Austin Eckler for this offense, played really good. He ended up having a touchdown. Got flagged for it, too. Stupid. He had 2 touchdowns. Excuse me. He had 2 touchdowns. But the Cardinals, listen, I said this going into the year, that this is a team, if they're going to win games, they have to win shootouts. Because the defense isn't that good. The defense wasn't that good. They decided not to send blitzes Jaden's way, and they were like, hey, we'll let him torch us through the air. And he was like, challenge accepted. Jaden Daniels ends up throwing 26 for 30. An adjusted completion percentage of 90%. Utterly ridiculous. Ridiculous. And the Cardinals got toasted, and they were unable to answer back. They couldn't do nothing right offensively. Like, they just, it's not like they put the ball in harm's way, because they didn't, but they weren't hitting big plays. They weren't able to create plays after the catch. Like, this offense, it's not what we saw in that Rams game, you know? Like, where is that team that can come out and try to win a shootout? They're not there. They're 1-3. I tried to tell Cardinals fans this at the beginning of the year. And you know what? A lot can change in the season. We're only, a quarter of the way through the year? A lot can change. But, like, I didn't have a lot of faith with this Cardinals team. I got a lot of flack for it in my Cardinals deep dive. And it doesn't feel like I'm wrong. Not saying all my takes are good. I got bad takes. Believe me, I got plenty of bad takes, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't feel like the Cardinals were a bad take. Just saying. Commanders defense, I mean, I don't know how much credit I really want to give them, but I want to give the credit to Dan Quinn, man. This dude framed up, geared up blitzes that consistently hit home. I mean, you had Bobby Wagner had 3 pressures and a sack. Frankie Louvu had 2 pressures. Just nice. They were able to put pressure on poor Kyler Murray. 49ers, they blew out the New England Patriots 30-13. There's not much to talk about in this game, guys. The Niners, they needed this. They needed a good pick-me-up game, and they got their pick-me-up game. And, yeah, I mean, the defense was stellar. They forced, 4 fumbles. Fred Warner had, a pick 6. They were able to shut down Jacoby Brissett and company. That was to be expected. The offensive line for the Patriots is a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. That is what it is. It's not good. It's not. It's beat up, but even if it was healthy, I don't think it'd be good. They weren't able to do anything on offense. And the Niners, they didn't have to do much on offense. They really didn't. It really felt like the offense was on cruise control. So, again, not much to really take away from this game outside of if you're one of those people screaming, yelling, pounding the table, put Drake May in. Why? Why do you want to send your rookie quarterback, your franchise quarterback, the new face of the franchise? Why would you send him to the slaughterhouse? Because that's what it is if you're going to put him behind this offensive line right now. No good can come from it. Don't do it. Let Jacoby Brissett take those bullets. He is currently Secret Service. Hopefully does a better job than our current Secret Service. But he is currently Secret Service, and he is protecting Drake May from the catastrophe that is this offensive line. You had Ramondre also have a fumble. I think, did I see this right that he has a fumble in every game this year? That can't be right. Oh my gosh, that's right. He has a fumble in every game this year. And you know what? He's kind of had a fumbling problem his whole career. He had 2 fumbles his rookie year, 4 fumbles in 2022. He had a fumble last year. Remember, it was a bit of a short year for him because he was banged up last season. And then 4 fumbles. Like he's probably gonna. This is gonna be probably the most fumbles he's had in his career this year. Kind of wild. The Las Vegas Raiders beat the Cleveland Browns 20-16. Kind of a weird game because, well, Deshaun Watson played well and they lost. And it sucked, dude. Like, Deshaun Watson had some nice passes in this game. You had the go-ahead touchdown negated by a holding call to Amari Cooper. You had Amari Cooper have a bad drop. You had Amari Cooper bounce a ball in the air and have it get picked off. The offensive line isn't playing well because, fun fact, they're beat up. They're missing Wyatt Teller. They're missing their top 2 tackles. So, like, yeah, right now the offensive line's in a bad spot. So the Raiders, even without Max Crosby, was able to get a hell lot of pressure. And I mean, a lot of pressure. Don't know what happened to DeJuan Jones, but he isn't the man that I thought he was last year. I guess you just can't get by on the NFL by being just big. But even this is pretty bad by his standard. James Hudson came into the league as a developmental prospect. Still looks like that developmental prospect. He allowed 4 pressures. Tyree Wilson had the best game of his career. He had Adam Butler getting after it. Just wreaking havoc on Zach Zittner, who I think got his first start of the season. First start of his career because he was just drafted out of Michigan this past season. So, Browns offense, even when Deshaun's not bad, the offense is bad. Tough pill to swallow. Kind of is what it is. Is there much to say about the Raiders? They had no Devontae Adams or Michael Mayer. And it'll be a no problem. I mean, for goodness sake, you know it's a bad game for the Browns defense when you could say that the Raiders ran the ball well. You had Alexander Madison, 60 yards. DJ Turner had an 18-yard carry. You had Brock Bowers with the 12-yard carry. You had Zamir White with 51 yards. Like, yeah, it's a bad game. It's a bad game when you could say, yeah, we couldn't stop the Raiders' run game. It's a bad day. So you got DJ Glaze and you had Jackson Powers Johnson in this game. I think this is both of their first starts. Glaze did come in, I think, Glaze may have started last week. I can't remember if Thayer Mumford got hurt last week and Glaze came in, or he got hurt the week before and Glaze started. But man, Glaze, fortunately enough, didn't have to face a lot of Myles Garrett. That was unfortunately the task of Colton Miller, who, hey, did as well as he could against Myles Garrett. But Jackson Powers Johnson looked good in this game. It was good to see him out there. It really, really was. Chiefs beat the Chargers 17-10. First and foremost, got to talk about how Patrick Mahomes likes to play the regular season on hard mode. This man, first off, there was a dumb pick. That's just Patrick Mahomes' that's just what he's done the last couple of years. The last couple of years, during the regular season, he's like, oh man, I've lost my touch pass, and now it gets intercepted all the time. Oh, woe was me. But then he took it the extra freaking mile. And trying to make a play on the guy who intercepted it, who I don't remember off the top of my head. Was it Christian Fulton that had that interception? Let's go see. Yeah, it was Christian Fulton. In the process of trying to take down said Christian Fulton, he annihilates poor Rashee Rice's his number one target, and my number one wide receiver in many fantasy leagues annihilates his ACL. So, yes, I took this one personal. The minute I saw it, I was like, that can't be Patrick Mahomes right now annihilating Rice's ACL. Oh, it was? Okay. Patrick Mahomes just likes playing the regular season on hard mode. They're still undefeated. Fun fact, if you didn't know, Chargers, they went up 10-0 in the first quarter, did nothing after that. I do want to say it was a pretty sick throw and catch for the touchdown to Ladd McConkey. Like Herbert put it, really the only place McConkey could make a play, and McConkey went out, made a play, got the feet down. It was a nice play. But outside of that, like it was nothing. Just absolutely nothing for the Chargers. You also had a ton of penalties in this game. Didn't even mention it, but you had the freaking Texans commit like 12 penalties. So it was like, I don't know, officiating's just, bad all the time now. I guess that's the world we live in. We live in a world where punt returners can't properly field punts, and the referees just are bad. That's just the world we live in now. And I mean, I haven't even hit up on all the muffs. Like, you had a muff kick in the Packers Vikings game, and to be fair, that's what put the Packers on the board and started to lead the comeback. So, like, okay, that's a thing. But yeah, penalties in this game. The offensive line was called just for nine penalties in this game for the Chargers. But it really felt like nobody had a good game. And mind you, they're missing Joe Alt. They're missing Rashawn Slater. But fun fact, Zion Johnson, he just looks like a bust at this point. He's not playing good football. But what the hell, freaking Mahomes? Kareem Hunt probably is going to end up being the lead back from here on out until Pachenko is healthy. I think you had Carson Steele fumble a carry, and then he ended up getting benched for it. And Hunt just kind of ran away with it at that point. He had actually pretty solid game. But I guess, hey, if you're a Travis Kelce manager, congratulations. Congratulations. Defense still playing good football for the Chiefs. Not much to talk about there. Really, the big story is Rashee Rice and the lack of a intact ACL thanks to his quarterback, his star quarterback. I'm sorry. I'm petty. I'm salty. Like, let me run through my fantasy team thus far this year. Week 1, Jordan Love goes down. I'm like, okay, well, I'll get by with like Jared Goff. Jared Goff's a good option. Jared Goff didn't go off really until this past week. And it's the week I benched him, and I was like, hey, we're going to throw Andy Dalton in. So not bad, but still, Goff, he scored like 13 more points because he had a stupid receiving touchdown. We'll get to Goff in a second. But you had that week 1. Week 2, after a beautiful week 1 from Cooper Kupp, ankle injury, gone. Fantasy team, shambles. Week 3, relatively quiet. Nothing happened. Oh, thank goodness. And then Jonathan Taylor, high ankle sprain. Ooh, I'm going to have to be worried about that. Okay, but we'll be fine. We'll be all right. And yes, I also did not start Jordan Love this week because why would you throw Jordan Love to the Wolves against the Vikings? I just was like, you know what? Let's just wait and see. He's coming off injury. Vikings defense, not probably the best call. At the end of the day, he ends up being like scoring 39 points on the bench for me. It is what it is. But then Rashee Rice. My team is injured and afraid, and I'm somehow 2-2. F, dude. Welcome to my TED Talk. Let's talk about the Sunday night football game. Because the Ravens mollywopped the Bills. I think this was the first game this season James Cook didn't have a touchdown. Let me go and confirm that. I'm I just believe that off the top of my head. Might not be true. But this thing went downhill early, and then you thought maybe there was going to be a comeback, and then some wonkiness happened. So on a side note, James Cook, he had a receiving touchdown in week 2. Let's see what he did in week 1 and 3. No, all his touch. Okay, no, he didn't score in week 1. Okay. I thought he did. But he did score in week 3. Everyone scored in week 3 against the Jags. Jags were bad. But nonetheless, regardless, this game opens up with a Derrick Henry 87-yard touchdown. I'm pretty confident it was 87 yards. And he didn't stop there. He ends up running for what, like 199 yards? 198 yards. How do you not get the man to 200? Come on, he did so much for you. He had 2 touchdowns in this game, one through the air on a 10-yard pass or a 9-yard pass, and then one on obviously the one on the ground that opened the game up. But like the Ravens were up top 21-3 early on. The offense is looking great. Lamar Jackson not needing to do much, but when he had to go back, like drop back and get the ball out, he did a good job at that. Justice Hill, I think, ended up being the leading receiver for the Ravens. But oh gosh, like if you're Buffalo, you're like, oh man, we need something. So let's open up the second half and see if we could get something going, for goodness sake. And then they scored a touchdown. It first started with a crazy play where Josh Allen, he's like runs to the sideline trying to buy time. Khalil Shakir sees this. He waits for the defenders next to him to come and play Josh Allen. And then he just kind of shoots behind the defense for like a big 52-yard reception. Eventually, Ty Johnson goes in for the touchdown. So sorry, James Cook. But Ty Johnson gets the touchdown. And then they force the Ravens to punt. And they're moving again. And then this is when the Bills are like, let's get wacky. Let's get crazy. And they go for a trick play. Like Curtis Samuel, I think he takes a snap. He tosses out to Allen, but it didn't fool the defense. Pressure's all around Allen. Allen scrambles out, tries to throw the ball, and he gets walloped by Kyle Van Noy for the strip sack. And that sucked all the wind out of the sails of any comeback. The Ravens would go down and score on a Lamar Russian touchdown. They go up 28-10, and just the Bills just couldn't do anything after that. The little shine left in their eyes of a comeback left after that turnover. And even on that play, I think you had like a dirty like no call where Marlon Humphrey, I don't know if he did this he might have done this on accident, but Marlon Humphrey raked the eyes of Dalton Kincaid. So you had Allen getting up slowly, you had Kincaid on the ground, so it was like, oh my gosh, what the hell just transpired on this nonsense of a play? But good win by the Ravens, man. Nate Wiggins had a really good game. He was only targeted twice. Almost had an interception, but, Josh Allen, big arm, threw a freaking heater his way, and he just couldn't bring it in. Maybe if he had a baseball mitt, a catcher's mitt, he could have brought that sucker in because it came in with some extra spice. Good win by the Ravens. They are now 2-2. Monday night, we had a doubleheader, but let's be honest, there was only one good game going. This wasn't it. Titans, they beat the Dolphins 31-12. Let's just quickly go over the Dolphins because honestly, the Titans portion's a little more fascinating. You have Tyler Huntley getting his first start for the Dolphins. He just joined the team, I think, halfway through September. And honestly, it looked better than it was under Skylar Thompson. The offense was able to move somewhat. He wasn't really helped out by the Dolphins pass catchers. Jalen Waddle had a really bad drop in this game. But like, I thought Huntley was as good as we're probably going to get, unfortunately, with no Tua. That's just kind of the grim reality of the offense right now. The run game couldn't do anything. Let's talk about the blocking, because for 5 years I've been talking about the Dolphins blocking. You had Robert Jones have a rough game. Aaron Brewer, for once, actually did well as a pass protector, but I guess it came at the expense of his ability to run block because he wasn't getting anything going. Patrick Paul, I think, got his first start of the year because you had Armstead with a concussion, and he might have been the best player for the Dolphins because Austin Jackson hasn't been good this season. Liam Eichenberg has never been good for the Dolphins. So yeah, no, this was rough because that's a good Titans defense, and you know what, the Dolphins, they're just not going to be a good team unless Tua is here, or I don't know, something clicks with Tyler Huntley, but I don't think that's fair to ask from a backup, especially given that he joined the team all of like maybe a month ago. Maybe. So the Titans, are we gonna have a quarterback controversy? Woo! So Will Levis, another bad interception, not nearly as bad as it been in weeks past, or bad turnover, but the interception wasn't good. Just didn't see the D tackle right in front of his eyes drop back into coverage. And then he hurts his shoulder on a run play. And Mason Rudolph comes in and just kind of nickels and dimes it. His average depth of target was 6 yards, which that's actually a fine number. But like, the Titans didn't have to do a lot on offense. The defense was basically getting it done for him. The run game was really good for the Titans too. It was both Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard got a garbage touchdown at the end of the game on 4th down, but he ran the ball 22 times for 80 yards. Spears, he had 39 yards on the ground. He also had a touchdown. I don't think the Titans are good. They just faced a demoralized Miami Dolphins team. So, yeah, I don't want to talk about the game that much. As a Dolphins fan, it hurts. It burns. But the Seahawks and the Lions had a really fun game last night. They had a really, really fun game last night. So they opened it up with, I believe, I don't remember who got the touchdown, but you had on the opening drive, you had the David Montgomery like big run. You had the David Montgomery big run. I think, or was it a run? No, it was a reception. He went for 40 yards. That eventually led to the first touchdown of the game. You had just the Lions offense felt unstoppable. I mean, you could go ahead and take a look at the passing statistics for the Lions as Jared Goff went 18 for 18 for 2 touchdowns. Mon-Ra St. Brown went 1 for 1 for a 7-yard touchdown. 2 Jared Goff on the Philly special. Now renamed the Detroit special. Man, it's just funky, man. It's just funny how it works. But yeah, the Lions were 19 for 19 on the night. To be fair, Seattle, they were missing like their whole defensive line. Yeah, Leonard Williams, Boye Mafe, Nwosu, who's been out since the beginning of the year, but he's trending towards coming back. But he didn't play this game. Byron Murphy didn't play this game. So you're essentially facing the second team on the defensive line there for the Seahawks. And I thought they did I thought they did an all right job. Like, yeah, the Lions won the trenches, but that's to be expected given the situation. But yeah, Jaron Reed played good. He had 3 pressures, a sack. No one else had any more than 1 pressure, but they were still able to get pressure here and there from different parts of their defensive line. Unfortunately, not enough to put enough pressure on Goff to force an incompletion. But it is what it is. Let's talk about. Let's talk about let's talk about Geno. Let's talk about the offense. Kenneth Walker. I'm so nice to see you back. He went off. He went off. He ended up running for 80 yards. Got 3 touchdowns, had 36 receiving yards as well. So, played a big game. Geno was cooking. Geno had 38 rushing yards. Wow, I didn't even remember that. But he threw for almost 400 yards. He had to sling it. He was basically playing from behind with it was like a 2-score deficit. So, he was going to put some balls at harm's way, but he made a lot of big plays. Just throughout this game. They should have had a 2-point conversion with DK Metcalf. They ended up calling a penalty on the Lions, so they got a second shot at it. But that screw the penalty. Like, Metcalf was in. He had the calf down, which apparently 1 calf equals 2 feet. That's just what it is in the NFL. And it didn't count. Didn't freaking count. Kind of sucked, but. Geno slinging it around. I do recall Jackson Smith and the Jigba looking really solid in this game. Just being a very consistent route runner for Geno there on the short to intermediate. But the Lions are kind of a juggernaut. It was always going to be this way, given the defense was a bit handicapped for the Seahawks. When it came to the Seahawks defense, offensive line, really it was just Stone Forsythe. You're sitting there waiting, hoping maybe Abraham Lucas will be able to come back. Feels like that's probably not going to happen at this juncture, so right tackle is going to be kind of a big need. It's just going to be the case. Aiden Hutchinson ate in this game. Don't know if it's official, but he had like 15 pressures in this game, which is just kind of ludicrous. Yeah, 15 pressures. That's nuts. Liam McNeil had a big game too, 6 pressures and a sack. Levi Ozarike, 4 pressures, a sack. He's like, don't say nothing now. He's kind of having a career year. Kind of playing really good football. But also got to give a little love to Terrion Arnold. I thought he probably played his best game of the year. Terrion Arnold looked hella good. He did get flagged in this game. That's kind of been the theme for him this season. Him getting flagged. There were a lot of bullcrap flags in this game. Like Carlton Davis was flagged 4 times and was very disputable. But Arnold was flagged 3 times, and I thought probably 2 of those were kind of meh. Just not great. Not great, but good win by the Lions. They are 3-1 and looking good. So good for them. But before we get to my power rankings, gotta give a shout out to today's sponsor. It's Underdog Fantasy. When you sign up using promo code Broshmo, they will match your first deposit up to $250. It's the best play to play. It's the best play. It's the best place to play weekly best ball. And my favorite, higher lower on player prop bets. They have prompts throughout the whole week. And it's not just football. I just play football. Hey, I play what I know. But they got all kinds of sports. They got some WNBA props for the championship, if you want to get in on that. Today they have a Kirk Cousins free gimme pick, whether it's just basically Kirk Cousins higher than 1 yard. You take it, you add it. It's a free pick in your higher or lower parlay. But I have a ton of fun with Underdog Fantasy, and you can too. Go to Underdog Fantasy and sign up using promo code Broshmo to get $250. in match deposit. But bet responsibly, bet within your means. As we move on to the final segment of the show, it's going to be the power rankings. So let's do it right. Week 4 of the NFL was absolutely insane, and it has you wondering some of these Cinderella stories to start the year. Are they for real? Are these teams legit? Well, we'll talk about it today. Let's go ahead and get into this sucker with power rankings. Let me explain the tiers, because we did change the tiers a bit this week. We went down from 6 tiers to 5 tiers to make it a little more simple. Of course, we got your bottom of the barrel teams, the worst of the worst, teams that are just not competitive. You got your plucky underdogs. I like this. Teams that I think, yeah, they're not good. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they can maybe upset some teams at some point this season. You got your playoff chasers, your teams that are going to be in the playoff race. Doesn't necessarily mean they might make the playoffs, but they're going to be in the conversation. And then you got your playoff caliber teams that I am 97.5% sure are going to make the playoffs, and then legit Super Bowl contenders, the teams that will be vying for their respective conference championship and likely going after the Super Bowl. They're going to have a considerable, just deep run in the playoffs. But we got to start this thing off the only way I know how, and that's with your bottom of the barrel teams. And the bottom of the barrel team this week, number 32, I think they were 32 last week for me as well. It's the New England Patriots. Man, it's rough times. It's tough. It's tough out here for a Patriots fan. But listen, you don't gotta start poor Drake May. Oh, we need to save our season. No, just do poorly. Do bad. Don't send Drake May to the slaughterhouse. Let Jacoby Brissett go out and take those bullets. It's fine. Just accept it. You're going to be bad this year, but you got your guy moving forward. Get better this offseason via free agency and the draft. Just get better this offseason. And right behind the New England Patriots, I'm going to have the Miami Dolphins. I'm a Dolphins fan. Fins up, baby. Fins up. And it hurts. It hurts so good. Listen, just the team's not competitive without Tua. That's just facts. Doesn't matter if it's Skylar Thompson. Yeah, it looked a little bit better with Tyler Huntley. Get his name right. Almost said Taylor Heineke. But looked a little bit better, but still the offense is just super debunked at this point. The offensive line's not playing good football. It's going to be a rough year for the Dolphins. Right ahead, the Dolphins. I'm going to put the team that beat the Dolphins last night, and that's the Tennessee Titans. Listen, Will Levis is still making dumb plays, and now he's hurting himself, much like last year, actually. But the only thing I believe on this Titans team is the defense. The defense is hella good. You can't trust the offense. You just can't. Mason Rudolph, he's not going to come in and be the savior of this team. And I think Callahan already said that this is when Will Levis is healthy. He is our quarterback. Regardless, like, you beat a bad Dolphins team. I don't think that tells you much. I don't think it tells you much. Right ahead of them, I'm going to put the Carolina Panthers. The defense sucks, unfortunately. It's just not good. You lost Shaq Thompson just recently. You lost Derek Brown at the beginning of the year. I'm glad the offense looks fun. It looks fun with Andy Dalton at the helm. But at the end of the day, that's kind of all this team is right now, a fun offense. Right ahead of the Panthers, here at number 28, I'm going to have the New York Giants. You're just not going to get it done with Danny Dimes. That's just the truth. He's lost the deep ball, I guess. He had shots. He missed them. against the Cowboys. This team was unable to run against a bad Cowboys run defense. And it's asking too much from guys like Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson to create after the catch. It's just not fair. It's not fair. Right ahead of the Giants at 27, I'm going to put the winless Jacksonville Jaguars. For as bad as let's call a spade a spade. Trevor Lawrence is playing bad football. The pass protection was pretty good on Sunday against the Texans. The receivers were good. The passes were not. Like, Trevor Lawrence missed on multiple big plays. Just I don't know what's going on with Lawrence. He hasn't looked like the same quarterback since the first half of the Miami Dolphins game. That was in the opener. I don't know. Maybe something will click with the Jaguars. They look more like that 1-5 team to end the year last season than that 8-3 team that started it. So I don't know, man. I want to say that this is still a very talented team. They got some injuries on defense with Oluokun and Campbell. I think Lloyd, he's not on IR, but he missed this last game. But Ronald Darby's just been bad. He allowed 11 receptions on 12 targets for 159 yards. Oh, yeah, he's been bad. Now, I only have one other team in this tier, and it's the team that beat the Jaguars, which isn't saying much. It's the Cleveland Browns. When Deshaun Watson plays well, this offense still stunk. The offensive line is hurt. They were down both starting tackles. You're also down Wyatt Teller. So the offensive line had a rough day at the office. Facing a Raiders team that was down Max Crosby. Tyree Wilson had a career day. Woof. On top of that, you're not getting help from the playmakers. You had Amari Cooper drop a ball, throw it up, and made a pick. You also had I think it was the go-ahead score. It was like a big 70 or 80-yard bomb get negated because of a penalty. The team's in disarray. It's in disarray. So these are my bottom of the barrel teams. Let's go to the plucky underdogs. Teams, again, that I think are going to be pretty feisty, but they probably won't win a ton of games. And I feel like that's the Las Vegas Raiders. Like, this is a team that's going to fight tooth and nail. They're going to play you hard. It doesn't matter if you're the best team in the league or the worst team in the league. They're going to play you tough, and it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be ugly in some regards, but that's just who they are. The run game actually did well this week for the Raiders. Yay, but don't expect that to be a thing. Though Jackson Powers-Johnson in his first start was relatively good. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see more of it. All right. At number 24, I have the Denver Broncos. Defense is playing lights out. Lights out right now. They're playing so good, and that's down Alex Singleton at linebacker, so good on them. I think Baron Browning is also out. So, yeah, good on this defense. The offense they're just not trying to get in the defense's way. They're just trying to score points or at least have sustainable drives to where they could put the opposing offense in bad field position. And honestly, Bo Nix, he did a solid job of that against the Jets. They scored 10 points. It was enough to win the game. Right ahead of them, I like the AFC West, so we're going to stick with it with the Chargers. They got up 10-0 against the Chiefs. Some may say the Chiefs were playing with one arm behind their back when your quarterback takes out your number one wide receiver for the season. Some would say that. I wouldn't say that, but some would say it. But the Chargers, they were down both starter tackles. Zion Johnson's not playing good football. Like, Justin Herbert, the touchdown was a nasty throw. Put it only where Ladd McConkey could get it, and McConkey made a good play on it. But, I mean, this team is is feisty. They're scrappy, and that's about it. I'm going to stay in LA with the Rams. Basically, you got Matthew Stafford and Kyron Williams just trying to keep the boat afloat for the offense. That's all it is at this point, unfortunately, for the Rams. The linebacking core is bad. Worst linebacking core in the league, probably. They made the Bears' run defense look good. The Bears were able to get to the second level and then tear off big runs because linebackers couldn't fill holes. Linebackers couldn't make plays. They were too busy getting washed out of the run game. So, Rams, they're in a tough spot. I'm going to put the team that beat the Rams this past weekend in the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams is looking better and better every week. Still not saying much. The man isn't comfortable throwing downfield. He's missing on deep throws. He was 0 for 3 on Sunday. I think a lot of that is him getting out the ball with haste and in a hurry. And maybe he has some PTSD from just how poor the offensive line play has been for the Bears. But fortunately, I mean, you got a quarterback that can make plays. You have a defense that's also like top 5 in the league. So, haha, hee hee, they're good. They're good. Arizona Cardinals, they're coming in at 20 here on my power rankings. This team, they have to win shootouts, and right now the offense, they aren't in shootout mode. They haven't been in shootout mode since, well, week 2 against a hurt, beat-up Rams team. The defense, they're plucky. Like that, bam, definition, plucky, but they're not particularly good. We saw it this week. It was a shootout. The Cardinals couldn't play in a shootout. I tried to tell Cardinals fans this. Team's not as good as you think they are. Maybe they'll be better as the year goes on. The last team I have in here will be the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson, slide. Don't take unnecessary hits. Jonathan Taylor, get healthy soon. High ankle sprain. Hopefully it's not too severe. The way the coaching staff's made it sound, it doesn't sound nearly that bad. And it sounds like he probably doesn't miss time, but I can't imagine the workload will be the same. But, man, the defense is like fine. It's middle of the road. That's just what a Gus Bradley defense is. And if Anthony Richardson isn't making big plays, this offense isn't doing anything. Joe Flacco stepped in and looked fun. I hesitate to say good. I think he did a solid job with the offense, leading them to a victory over the Steelers, a big win. Now let's get to that playoff chaser tier. But before we get to playoff chaser, I got to talk about Underdog Fantasy. Give them a quick shout out. If you go to Underdog Fantasy, sign up using promo code Broshmo. They will match your first deposit up to $250. Is the best place to play weekly best ball, or my favorite, higher or lower on player props. They have free promos every week. You could get in on the action at Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Broshmo when you sign up, and they match that first deposit up to $250. But bet responsibly. Bet within your means. New Orleans Saints, they're the first team up in this playoff chaser tier. They're a hell of a good team. They're a good team, but not nearly as good as they've been in recent weeks. I think a lot of that offensively has to do with losing Eric McCoy for like the next month and a half. That's a big hit. But the offense, like Derek Carr, they're still playing good. They played better than they did last week. The defense, it's kind of a down week for the Well, okay, I say down week for the defense. It was a down week for Paulson Adebo. Man played, he was one of two extremes, either really good or really bad. He had an interception and 3 pass breakups, and then he gave up like 130 some yards and had 3 penalties, with one being, well, the penalty to get the Falcons in field goal position to hit the game winner, which they did, and which is why I have the Falcons right ahead of the Saints. Okay, to be fair, these teams are on very similar heels. The Saints, you would probably look at the stat sheet and be like, wow, they had so many more first downs and yards than the Falcons. How did it turn out this way? Well, Falcons apparently are scrappy like that. Kirk Cousins is scrappy like that. Even when Bijan, he wasn't having a good game, Tyler Algier stepped up and was like, hey, don't worry. You don't got just one great back, but you got a hell of a good back as well in me. He played really well. Drake London made some plays. And honestly, the defense wasn't half bad this game. Now, I don't expect the defense to be good week to week, but they weren't bad. They weren't bad. At 16, I'm going to put the Cincinnati Bengals. Just got their first win of the year. Yay, the offense is looking great. Boo, the defense is looking bad. Not the secondary. This young secondary playing good football. Unfortunately, with Coach Lou, he asks a lot from his corners. He'll put them on islands, and they don't have the pass rush to sustain that. Like, they don't. Like, if your name is not Trey Hendrickson, then you don't get pressure. That's just the facts of the matter. Like, Sheldon Rankins, get healthy. BJ Hill, get healthy. Miles Murphy, get healthy. They need pass rush. They need someone to step up. That's not Trey Hendrickson. All right, and then I'm going to put the New York Jets, Jets, Jets. Aaron Rodgers was a little hobbled in this game. Kind of a sucky outing. They couldn't run the ball well. It was a messy game. They got swallowed up by that Broncos defense, but there were plenty of chances for them to win that game. They just didn't. The defense, again, you do worry about their ability to stop the run and to get consistent pressure. So, like, there's questions with the Jets. Right ahead of the Jets at 14, I'm going to put the Washington Commanders. Are they for real? Offensively, I think they are. Jane Daniels is playing great football. The Cardinals were like, we're not going to blitz them. Beat us as a passer. And Jane Daniels was like, hold my beer. Because he did just that. The run game's really good as well. Brian Robinson played hella good. You had Jeremy McNichols step in for the hurt Austin Eckler, and he had 2 touchdowns in this game. The defense, I think, schematically was really good. Dan Quinn, he brought those blitzes in and was able to get pressure on Kyler Murray, basically making his defensive line look better than what they are. I mean, it was really guys like Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu that were coming in and creating havoc. And then you had, a lot of the defensive line cleaning up after. But I don't believe in the defense just yet. I just don't. The offense, though, I'm buying in. Which is why the final team in this tier is their rival, Dallas Cowboys. You could argue, you could flip these two. But Dak's a good quarterback. You may not like hearing that, but he's a good quarterback. He's going to win some games for this team. And that's behind a offensive line that's going through it right now. He's with a run game that's, going through it right now. Defensively, a lot of big injuries. They entered the Giants game with significant injuries in the secondary, mainly at the corner position with Deron Bland. He started the year on IR. You had Kalen Carson missed this past game, and now DeMarcus Lawrence is going to miss a couple of games. Mike Parsons, he's got a high ankle sprain. Is he going to miss time? So a lot of questions in Dallas. I can't really put them any higher than this, and even this might feel a little high. Playoff caliber teams. Again, these are teams that I am quite positive are going to make the playoffs, but always there's going to be like a 2% botch, 2% error. So I don't know, maybe one of these teams ends up falling off in the later half of the season. But we're going to start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Justin Fields showed something this past week. When they needed him, he was able to make big plays. Is he playing like phenomenal, elite? No. He is missing plays time and time again, but he's helping this squad play winning football. The defense could only do so much. They played from behind in this game and were able to come soaring back on the back of Justin Fields. So I buy into Mike Tomlin. What can I say? I just buy into Mike Tomlin. Right ahead of them, the Seattle Seahawks. They unfortunately lost last night. To be fair, they were a bit handicapped as well. Their whole starting defensive line missed the game. You had Nwosu. He has missed all of this season thus far with an injury. He's working on his way to coming back, but you had no Boye Mafe, no Leonard Williams, no Byron Murphy. Well, that led to, minimal pressure and the Lions being able to run the ball really, really well. I thought Geno and Kenneth Walker did a good job of trying to keep this offense in the game, but there was only so much that they could do. Seattle's a good team. Don't sleep on them. All right, we talked about a good team. Now I'm going to talk about a team that's hurt. That's hurt, but I think they're good. In the Philadelphia Eagles. They go down to the Baker Mayfield-led Buccaneers. Bacon is bacon. Bacon is bacon. Baker is bacon. There we go. In Tampa. But keep in mind, the Eagles, they were down their top two pass catchers in A.J. Brown, in Devontae Smith. They didn't have their star right tackle in Lane Johnson. So, yeah, the offense was a bit handicapped. Defensively, though, this team cannot get pressure on the outside. They cannot get pressure from the edge rush position. It's basically Joshua Sweat, and that's about it. No Nolan Smith. No Bryce Huff. Nobody's getting pressure on the outside, and that is concerning to me. It's concerning. Right ahead of those two bird teams, I'm gonna pack this one in with the Green Bay Packers. I think this is a hell of a good team. They couldn't get pressure against the Vikings. I was a little concerned about that, but Jordan Love, man, he's legit. You might be like, oh, he threw 3 interceptions. They were down like 21 points. They were down 3 scores. So, yeah, he had to be a little crazy with the football to get this team back in it. He had 4 touchdowns. He brought this team back into the game. Like, don't hate. I still worry that he didn't look 100%, and I don't think he ever was going to look 100% with the knee. So I'm a little concerned. I always felt like I didn't like the Packers starting him this game against that Vikings defense. That was just sounded scary to me. Just like, stick with Malik Willis and just let Love get healthy. Love looked good. Doesn't mean he didn't look hobbled, but hopefully that gets better because this, I think, can be a championship caliber team. Now let's talk about Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. Baker Mayfield, man, is playing good football. Let's forget about the Denver game. As far as I'm concerned, the Bucs had a bye week last week. But Baker's looking really good. The offensive line played pretty darn well. You had Bucky Irving. He's eating into the volume, and he's just looking better than Rashad White. The defense played well, but keep in mind, again, Philly, they were down some pretty top-tier players on offense, but still, the defense has looked pretty good for the Buccaneers all season. So, yeah, I think the Bucs are legit, man, and they are your front runners in the NFC South. I got one more team here, and it's the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Vikings fans are going to be pissed, and I know they are, because I don't have them in as a legit Super Bowl contender. And it's like I just can't I can't buy into Sam Darnold just yet playing at this level for the whole season. And he's coming off a relatively unspectacular game. Oh, he had 3 touchdowns. He had a bad fumble. He should have threw a pick on the opening drive, threw one in the end zone. They got lucky. It got dropped, and then they were able to score on end around. But for me, buying into the Vikings, it was always going to be a slow burn. I buy into the defense. The defense is hella good, creates a lot of havoc, creates a lot of turnovers. I love it. I love the defense. Offensively, they're functioning really, really well. I'm just kind of waiting for the wheels to fall off the tracks, and that might never happen. So that's why I'm gonna have this team here in the playoff caliber teams. And it's like, I don't want to take anything away. They've beaten some impressive teams, like the Packers, the Texans, the Niners. They've had impressive outings. I do question how sustainable this is, but I do think this is going to be a team that's going to be in the thick of things when it comes to the playoffs. But now let's move to those Super Bowl caliber teams. See, Vikings fans, it's not that bad. I have y'all one spot out of this here, just one spot. But at the bottom of this tier is going to be the Buffalo Bills. Rough week for the Bills. Listen, I mean, they smacked the Jags. That was fun, but then they ran into a buzzsaw. That was the Baltimore Ravens. They had a chance to come back, but, trick plays. They either work really well or it's a catastrophe. In this case, it was a catastrophe. You had Curtis Samuel take the direct snap. Mind you, used to play quarterback, I think, back in college or at least in high school. But he takes the direct snap, tosses it to Allen. Baltimore does not bite. They force Allen to the sideline. Allen tries to make a throw, and he essentially gets strip sacked because he gets rocked by Kyle Van Noy. Also on the same play, you had, Marlon Humphrey. I don't know if he threw dirt in Dalton Kincaid's eyes or if he just swiped at him, but Dalton Kincaid went down. So, for one, you had the turnover, and then two, oh no, Josh Allen's getting up slowly. Oh no, Dalton Kincaid is down on the ground. What the hell just happened? Why did we do this? But you didn't have a lot working early on in the game, unfortunately, for the Bills anyway. Better days lay ahead. I firmly think the Bills are the best team in the AFC East. Right ahead of the Bills, I'm going to have the Houston Texans. You kind of wish that they smacked the Jags. But, and to be fair, the game probably shouldn't have been as close as it was. But, you had a gimme early in the game. Was that because of muffed punt as well? I can't remember. But you had the Jags go up early. The Texans offense, mind you, they're missing Tank Dell. They're missing Joe Mixon. So it was a bit of a slow burn, but they also had probably one of the best late drives in a game that I have seen, whether it was just how composed CJ Stroud was, the time and clock management, the management of their timeouts from the coaching staff, Bobby Slowick and D'Amico Ryans. They ran a near perfect final drive of the game to take the lead and to secure the win. The Texans are legit. Right ahead of the Texans, I got the San Francisco 49ers. I believe this team will get healthier as the year goes on, and they're hella good. Hella good. I know right now they're sitting at 2-2, and you're like, how good are they? No, they're still really good. They're still really good, and they're loaded with a lot of good talent. I buy into this squad. I think they're going to they should make a case for being the 1 seed in the NFC. They should. And then at number 3, the Baltimore Ravens. This is exactly what you needed after kind of a rough start to the year. Couple of close losses. What you had the loss of the Chiefs. Who did they lose to in week 2? I don't recall off the top of my head. Ravens Sketty. You had the Chiefs. Oh yeah, the Raiders. That whole debacle at the end of the game. That was just a second half collapse. But they kind of decisively beat the Cowboys, and the Cowboys got themselves back into the game. But this was a decisive win. This was a good win. The run game was unstoppable. Derrick Henry was unstoppable. This defense is, I think, playing good football. Nate Wiggins looked particularly good. Kyle Van Noy is playing like it was 3 years ago. The man feels ageless at this point. They're playing good football. The Detroit Lions are my number 2. And, man, they were perfect. Well, Jared Goff was perfect. He went 18 for 18. But, hey, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he went 1 for 1 with a touchdown. As a passer, they had the Detroit Special. That's right. It's renamed. It's the Detroit Special. Where Jared Goff catches a touchdown. The run game was unstoppable. Mind you, they were facing a depleted Seahawk defensive line. But the defense is also playing pretty well. I know Geno threw for a lot of yards on him, but there were also a lot of bullcrap penalties, I thought, in this game for Detroit. The officiating overall, it's just been a problem the last couple of years. Just has. And I feel like the turning point was that Saints-Rams playoff game, the pass interference that was not called. And since then, just officiating has been just full sail, stock down, terrible. Kansas City Chiefs, they're sitting at 1, though. I feel like I should knock them down because they hurt Patrick Mahomes hurt his number 1 wide receiver. That was stupid. Don't know why you would do that, Patrick, but he did. He did. And now Rashee Rice is probably out for the rest of the season. Like, for one, Patrick Mahomes, you throw the interception. Like, this guy, his touch passes have been all kinds of terrible the last 2 regular seasons. But we talk about this often. The regular season doesn't matter to the Chiefs. It's all about the postseason. That's why they sit here at number 1. They're also undefeated. It wasn't pretty against the Chargers, but they got the job done. Patrick Mahomes playing on hard mode here. He's like, okay, not only am I going to throw a pick, I'm going to take my number 1 wide out for the season. And I'm going to ruin my fantasy teams, because I had Ray Rice in a lot of fantasy leagues. I'm going to ruin their hopes and dreams. And Patrick Mahomes, like you do to many Super Bowl hopefuls, and like you do to many, many AFC teams during the playoffs, you have killed my hopes and my dreams. But the Chiefs are number 1. Steve Spagnuolo, great defense there. But let me know what you think. Where would you rank some of these? Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Let me know your takes in the comment section below. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do that YouTube thing. And as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later. And before I head out, I do want to check out the chat real quick. See how y'all are doing. Hey, wait, he said he used promo code Broshmo just an hour ago. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. How about them Hoosiers? Hey, check out my top 25, Wade, from yesterday. Hoosiers made it in the top 25, man. Much props. Oh, Nintendo Mike, you had Ray Rice in a few leagues. I keep saying Ray Rice. Rashee Rice. Yeah, that was tough sledding, man. Tough sledding. It really is. It really is. Let's see. Oh, man, is there? Oh, y'all are having a spat. Y'all had a spat in the comment section. Well, I ain't going to read all that. Well, anywho, I'm going to have some videos out for y'all today. So be on the look for that. Power rankings along with the stock report for college football prospects that are eligible for the 2025 NFL draft. If you haven't already checked it out already, I do have a mock draft from yesterday. So go ahead, take a gander at that. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.